What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to the Silver and Black Lair. I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry. So this week, you can expect on today's show, we're going to talk the Raiders' first-round draft pick. A huge surprise to Raider Nation. Like it, love it, hate it. It is what it is. We'll talk about that, and I'll take a look at the what the rest of the teams did in the first round of the draft, and I'll also talk about best available and what the Raiders' needs are. We'll talk about that. And hey, let me know what your team, how your team did. Like it, hate it. Throw it out there. Comment away. I'll be back in 50 seconds. Hey, what's up, Raider Nation? The Bat Fry, Kenny Fry here, welcoming you to the Silver and Black Lair Las Vegas Raiders edition. And if you're new to the show, welcome. This is the Silver and Black Lair. I host a couple different shows here on Out of the Box Sports. I do the Bat Cave on Wednesdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking New York Mets baseball. I do the Silver and Black Lair LA Kings edition, Thursday mornings, 10 a.m. I'm doing the Silver and Black Lair Raiders edition, Friday mornings, 10 a.m. And also the Atomic Drop podcast, talking WWE wrestling, Saturday nights, 10 p.m. here on Out of the Box Sports Entertainment. Facebook, YouTube, X. Smash that like, follow, subscribe buttons. All right. And so if this is isn't your first time you've seen the show before, if you don't know already, last week I started splitting the shows. I think it might be better, that way if you're a Raiders fan or you're just a football fan in general and you want to watch the Raiders part of the show anyway, just that part, not the hockey part. Well, I split them up so you can just watch the football part. And if you're a hockey fan, you just want to watch the hockey part, so on and so on. All right, so let's kick this shindig off here. I got a comment to start her off. Why not, right? And we got our boy, Adam the Answer Glenn. He's checking in from YouTube saying, what's up? What's up, Adam? Adam also does the Atomic Drop podcast with us on Saturday nights now. He just hopped aboard. Throw a dog a bone and watch him dig, right, Adam? That's what we do. All right, so talking Las Vegas Raiders, we got the 13th pick overall in the first round. So many different questions coming in. We have a couple glaring needs, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And all the experts, all the fans, most of the fans had a pretty good idea what we were going to do. We had it narrowed down to pretty much a three players. Three different scenarios. And I did it last week when I was doing my mock draft. I did three or four different mock drafts, and each one I had a different first round pick and how I think the rest of the rounds would go then. And so, of course, the quarterback position, a position of need, and depending on who you talk to again. But a position of need. We need better quarterback play if we want to be able to compete with guys like Patrick Mahomes and Herbert out of San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles. Top quarterbacks in the league, especially Mahomes. Herbert, he's on his way up if he can stay healthy. I did hear that Herbert requested a trade from the Chargers, but the Chargers denied it. Denied him. They didn't deny the story, but they denied him a trade, so he's not going anywhere yet. But anyway, so quarterback, an obvious need, offensive tackle, particularly right tackle, a big need, and cornerback. Now cornerback, I guess, is a need. Yeah, it kind of depends on how you look at it. If you can get a shutdown corner, Quinyon Mitchell, Terrion Arnold, some people, some of the experts have perceived those guys as potential shutdown type corners. And if you can get a shutdown corner in the first round, you take it. Now you look at the Raiders cornerbacks. We got Jack Jones, Nate Hobbs. Nate Hobbs, typically your nickel back. And last year we drafted Ja'Cory Bennett. Now we had Amik Robertson last year. He left, and now he's in Detroit. So that definitely opened up a spot at quarterback. So drafting Ja'Cory Bennett last year, I can't remember which round it was, but it was one of the later rounds from third round beyond. I believe third round after. I feel like it was probably fourth or fifth round, to be honest with you. But we drafted a quarterback last year. He got into some games. He did okay sometimes. There were some times where he was outmatched. You could tell he was a rookie and not used to the speed, the physicality, and he wasn't the big dog in the yard anymore. He wasn't facing Oral Roberts or whatever. Every week in and week out, these wide receivers are the best in the world, and it's going to take some time for him to catch up to speed. And we've seen that last season. So he lost a little bit of playing time, but again, a little bit of hope there, a little bit of hope. But again, if you can get a shutdown corner in the first round, that's something you kind of want to jump at, especially with the way Jack Jones played last season after we picked him up from New England, after New England cut him or let him go, waived him, whatever it was. He played very well for the Raiders. Played very, very well for the Raiders last season. And not saying Jack Jones is a shutdown corner, but he definitely has that dog in him where you can see where he can shut some guys down and make big plays, which is huge. So those were the three big needs: quarterback, offensive tackle, and cornerback. Everything else is kind of like a luxury type thing. And quarterback, offensive tackle, cornerback. It's not in that particular order either. That's just how I'm saying it. So for me personally, the biggest need I thought was the offensive tackle, then quarterback, then cornerback. And so we got another comment here. Cowboy Dave Yarnell. Yeehaw, Cowboy Dave. How'd your Cowboys do yesterday? I know I was at work already. I was in a meeting. We had a plant meeting, so I was there. I'm not really sure what went down. I do know that they drafted an offensive tackle. As you can see at the bottom there, I have the ticker going from last night. So if you do not know who picked who, we got the first round scrolling at the bottom, so be sure to check it out. But Cowboy Dave says, "What's going on, big man?" You can check Cowboy Dave out on Tuesdays, every other Tuesday, on Extra Innings, the Extra Innings podcast, talking Major League Baseball. Him and Joe Sullivan do a great job with that. Wednesdays at 9:30 p.m., Paul Spencer and Cowboy Dave on Dem 215 Boys talking Dallas Cowboy football. And then, of course, on Saturdays, the Atomic Drop podcast, talking pro wrestling with myself, Adam the Answer, and the draft guru himself, Eddie Prather. All right. So, Dave, how'd your Cowboys do? Did you like the pick, hate the pick, whatever? I know they got an offensive tackle, like I said. Let me know what your thoughts on that are. Let me talk to you. Yeah, right? There you go. A little bit of LA Knight. Dave says offensive tackle from Oklahoma, Tyler Guyton. Not a bad pick, I guess. If offensive tackle was a need for your team, Tyler Guyton is a pretty good player from everything that I've read when I was doing my mock drafts. Not the top offensive tackle, but definitely I think top 5. So it's not a terrible pick. And I think the Cowboys also traded back, so they also picked up a couple extra picks for this draft. So that's not terrible either. All right, so back to the Raiders. This is a Raiders show. But again, if you're watching right now, your team's not the Raiders. You're just watching because you're watching, you're bored, you like football, you want to see what I say, or I stutter, or whatever. Throw out comments. Comment away about your team, my beard, whatever. It doesn't matter. Your thoughts on the first round, your thoughts on the second round and beyond. Comment them out. I appreciate it very much. And Cowboy Dave, one more time, says, let me talk to you. Yeah. There you go. All right. So the Raiders don't go don't go quarterback, don't go offensive tackle, and they don't go cornerback. Instead, they go tight end, Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers. There we go. I've been waiting to do that. 6'4", 240-pound tight end out of Georgia. Fantastic tight end. Back-to-back winner of the what the heck is it? John Mackey Award. I couldn't think of the first name. I knew it was the Mackey Award. I can remember the John part of it. Back-to-back winner of the John Mackey Award, top tight end in the nation. Last season he did get hurt his ankle or something like that, so he did miss a few games. But he was well on pace to having the best season of his college career. And overall his career at Georgia was awesome. It's fantastic. I've been reading a lot of comparisons of him and George Kittle, and built the same type of skill sets. Fast. Can play multiple positions: tight end, slot receiver, can play out wide, can play running back. So you expect this guy, once he gets in there, he's going to be moving around. They're going to be putting him in a couple different places. Much like what the 49ers do with George Kittle. The only difference between Kittle and Brock Bowers, Kittle can block. Brock, that's not his strong point. He is a bit undersized at 246 pounds, 240 pounds, whatever it is. So he's a little bit undersized there, but I don't think we picked Brock Bowers for his blocking abilities. I think we picked Brock Bowers for his playmaking abilities. And, a lot of people, a lot of Raider fans, a lot of people, in general, people that watch the draft or listening to the draft or whatever, hey, you guys picked Michael Mayer last year, one of the top 2 tight ends in the draft last season. Why are you picking another tight end this year? And, my thought on it is, 2 great tight ends are much better than 1 great tight end. Don't really have a very deep tight end room right now the way it is. The way it stands right now, you have Michael Mayer, then everybody else under him are pretty much either practice squad guys or third stringers. So you're looking for that complement. With Austin Hooper leaving, that left that hole. I'm surprised. I thought they would have filled that hole actually through free agency. Another 1-year deal for somebody. Last season, it was Austin Hooper and O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard didn't make the team. Hooper did. And Hooper didn't do a whole lot, but I don't know if that's all really his fault. Our offense was kind of crap last season. So, and that starts from Josh McDaniels even to when AP took over as interim, and the Raiders also had an interim offensive coordinator whose name escapes my mind right now. We got a couple more comments I want to hit up before I continue. Adam says the Eagles made a great pick. They picked up who'd they pick up? As you see the ticker at the bottom there, the Eagles, Philadelphia, Quinyon Mitchell. Yes, one of the top 2 cornerbacks. That's somebody I talked about earlier. That some of the experts were saying that he could be a shutdown cornerback. Him and Terrion Arnold. And I know when I was doing the show yesterday, we were live yesterday here on Out of the Box Sports, NFL Draft Live. We had a bunch of different hosts on. I was on for about 45 minutes or so before I had to go to work. And I was saying I was hoping the Raiders would take Terrion Arnold, even though I thought offensive tackle was a bigger need. But I feel like the offensive tackle depth in this draft is greater than what the cornerback is. The cornerback does have some great depth in this draft, but I feel like offensive tackle is even greater. So I wasn't pushing too hard for an offensive tackle at 13, but I wouldn't have been upset. But I was pushing hard for Terrion Arnold to get that lockdown corner. But it is what it is. We have Scout MP5. What's up, Scout? Thank you for checking the show out. Thank you for commenting. I appreciate it very much. He says, somewhat of a little surprise since they already have Mayer. Yes. And that's what it's one of those uh, new offensive coordinator, from the Bears. He's bringing I don't want to say a run first, but he's bringing more of a grinded out type offense this year. It's not going to be all running. It's going to be heavy running. I think a lot more running than we did last season. So Zamir White buckle that chin strap, and what better way to run the ball than double tight end sets. Now, like I just said a minute ago, Brock Bowers isn't a great blocking tight end, but he did not have a terrible grade as a run blocker either. I think it was a 74.1 run grade. 74.1 run blocking grade from Pro Football Focus in 2023. It's not terrible. It's not great either, but it's not terrible. It's very doable. But also having that double tight end, those double tight end, two tight end sets, could lead to a lot of seams opening up. Play action passes. Two great tight ends like that. Two great pass catching tight ends like that. A lot of the attention's going out to Devontae Adams out wide, Jacoby Myers out wide, and you bring those two tight ends in there. Things are going to open up for him, and especially with somebody like Brock Bowers that could technically be a wide receiver. It's going to open up either for him or Michael Mayer, and Michael Mayer after McDaniels was fired. Really started coming on strong. The Raiders started getting him the ball more, started getting more looks, but then he missed the last few games due to an injury. So I think my opinion with this, the way I feel, it's a surprise, yes, but I wasn't bummed about it. I was actually kind of excited. I'm like, that's not a bad pick. Our offense really struggled last year. Why not add another playmaker to it? And like I said, offensive tackle deep in this draft, cornerback deep in this draft, not as deep as offensive tackle in my opinion, but still pretty deep in this draft. You can get a really good starting offensive tackle still in the second or third round. So it's not all for naught. The only problem is now your quarterback situation. Where do you go from there? So I'm going to hit that up in a second here. Scout MP5 says, I agree, good pick. And he also says, good morning. Good morning, Scout. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about Brock here before I move on because I have a whole bunch of notes written down. Because I remember I don't watch a whole lot of college football. When I can, I do, but usually Saturdays, out doing stuff with the family. Usually, if I do watch college football, it's like at 10, 11 at night, midnight, around there with all that West Coast stuff. So I pick 13. 6'3", 6'4", depends on what website you're looking at. 240 pounds. Lines up as running back, slot receiver, outside receiver, tight end. 74.1 run blocking grade from Pro Football Focus. In 2023, back-to-back winner of the John Mackey Award, 2022 and 2023. 40 games played at Georgia, 175 receptions, 2,538 yards, and 26 touchdowns. He set the school record for single season receiving touchdowns, not by a tight end, but overall, that was 13 touchdowns. And I think that was his, was it his sophomore? I don't think it was his freshman year. I feel like it was his sophomore year. I could be wrong, though. I didn't write that down. His strengths, according to CBS Sports, good top end speed, good job creating separation, does not tip off his breaks with his eyes, leans into defender's body to create space, which if you're good at it, you get away with it. If you're not good at it, they call you for illegal contact or offensive pass interference, but it sounds like he might be pretty good at that. He has great hands and range to make catches outside of his frame, which is huge. Huge for a tight end. You're running short routes, you're running long routes. But when you're going across the middle like that, and you sit in a spot, particularly zone, you sit into an area or a hole in the zone, the quarterback throws it, it's off a little bit. Well, you have linebackers or safeties bearing down on you, and it's off your body a little bit, you got to have those quick, good hands, catch it and bring it in real quick to protect that ball, protect yourself. So that's huge for a tight end, for any wide receiver, to be honest with you. But for a tight end particularly, that's going to play the middle of the field. Much like what Darren Waller would have done when he was with the Raiders. Playing towards the middle of the field and hitting those seams, hitting the deep ball. But he had Darren Waller, great hands, great speed, and he was able to pull that ball in really, really quick and protect himself. So his Brock Bowers' weaknesses: lacks the ideal height and weight. Light frame makes it more difficult to hold up as an inline blocker. So, and that's where I come in. George Kittle, not a huge tight end, but you watch George Kittle play, he's a pretty decent blocker, especially for a man his size, blocking, down on offensive tackles or getting up to the next level and going one-on-one with some pretty big linebackers. Sip of iced tea for the working man. There it is. All right, what that whistle. So looking at his college stats, 2021, 15 games, 56 catches, 882 yards, 13 touchdowns, four carries, 56 yards, 1 touchdown. 2022, 15 games, 63 catches, 942 yards, 7 touchdowns, 9 rushing attempts for 109 yards, 3 touchdowns. You see that dual threat there. 2023, only 10 games. Like I said, he hurt his ankle, was out, had surgery. 56 catches, 714 yards, 6 touchdowns. He had 6 carries for 28 yards and a touchdown. So if he plays, the rest of the season, those couple extra games, who knows? He might have had a career season there. So that was his career at Georgia. So I like the pick. That's Brock Bowers in a nutshell. I'm sure we'll get to know him a little bit more as today goes on and as the coming weeks when he starts hitting mini camps and stuff like that, rookie camp and all that good stuff. But I'm excited for it. I am excited for it, and I'm excited to see what the Raiders do in the upcoming rounds here. So real quick, you can see at the bottom there, we have the ticker from yesterday's draft, all the picks. I'm going to go ahead and read them off real quick anyway. So at number 1, you had Chicago taking Caleb Williams from USC, quarterback. Washington took our boy Jaden Daniels, LSU quarterback. The Patriots took Drake May, North Carolina quarterback. Arizona took Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State, wide receiver. The San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles took Joe Alt, offensive tackle, Notre Dame. The Giants at number 6 took Malik Neighbors, wide receiver from LSU. Tennessee took J.C. Latham, offensive tackle from Alabama. That's a little bit of a surprise. Most boards that you looked at from all the big heads that put out all their mock drafts and draft rankings, prospect rankings or whatever you want to call it. J.C. Latham was definitely a top 4 or 5 tackle, but was more at the bottom of that part. They didn't have him as the second tackle going off the board, but it's still not a terrible pick because it's all around the same area. They had him ranked anywhere from 8th to 15th, or no. They had his grade. Out of all the offensive tackles, they're all around each other. Joe Alt was a little bit higher than most of them, but Fuaga, Fashanu, Latham, they're all pretty close to each other ranking wise. I think Latham was the lowest ranked out of those 3 at 15 on most of the experts prospect board or ranking board or whatever you want to call it. So this is where it got kind of wonky. Atlanta at 8 took Michael Penix Jr., quarterback out of Washington. I like saying Washington like that. I like saying Washington. Makes me happy. So that threw a wrench into a lot of different things. You assume anyway, without knowing for sure. Atlanta taking a quarterback. They just signed Kirk Cousins to I think $190 million deal, $180 million deal for I think 4 years maybe. I think it's guaranteed for 2 years. So I thought I heard somebody say it's a 2-year deal, but it's actually a 4-year deal if they add the options to the next 2 years, I think. I could be wrong about that. But irregardless, they signed Kirk Cousins to a huge deal. And last night on the NFL Draft Live podcast here on Out of the Box Sports Entertainment, one of the things that I said, they could be thinking is, Kirk Cousins is coming off an Achilles tear. It might take him a little bit more to recover. It might take him a little bit longer to be the old Kirk Cousins, or he may not even be the old Kirk Cousins. Tearing your Achilles tendon is huge. It's not like a sprained ankle or like ACLs now. It's still a big surgery. It's still a big deal, but it's not quite a big deal as it was 10, 15 years ago. But the Achilles is just it's huge. It's, especially quarterback and running back. Any position where you're pushing off. Quarterbacks, dropping back. It's always footwork. Footwork is huge for a quarterback, and if he doesn't have it, what are they going to do? Granted, they spend a lot of money on him, and if he's not able to play at the same level as what he did with Minnesota before the injury, then you're out a lot of money. But with Michael Penix, you have that backup plan, and so that's a possibility there. That's just kind of like an insurance thing that our boy Scout or girl, I'm not really sure. I assume a boy. Says Cousins got a 4-year deal, and he says Penix is insurance. And so I did see something where they were talking to the general manager, where basically that's kind of what he was saying. He said it's going to be good to have a backup plan or insurance. You could have Penix sit for a little bit, and he said up to 4 or 5 years, which is insane if you ask me. I don't know why you do that, but a year or two I can see. You think back to Aaron Rodgers and guys like that. Sitting. Patrick Mahomes. He sat for a season as well. You think back to those guys, and it did wonders for him. Let them sit, let them kind of soak it in, learn the NFL ways, get used to the speed of the game, and go from there. So I could see that with Penix. I absolutely could. But 4 to 5 years, I think that's if I'm Penix, I'm saying, dude, just trade me now. If you plan on sitting me for 4 to 5 years, trade my ass now. There's no way I'd hang around for that. No way, absolutely, positively not. I would not sign a contract. If they plan on sitting me for 4 to 5 years, that's his career. I'm not going to say Penix is a Hall of Famer, but let's say, for all intents and purposes, what if he is a Hall of Famer? What if he has? He starts. They sit him 4 or 5 years. He can't go anywhere, and that because you have control of him for 5 years. I think that 5th year is an option. You have control of him for 5 years. Okay, he finally starts that 5th year, has a terrific season, and he's like, I'm not sticking around. You guys screwed me. He goes to another team, plays another 8 years, let's say, and has an absolutely amazing 8 years. But he's missing those first 4 years, and now he's out of a Hall of Fame because his numbers don't quite match up to what they could have been if he started an extra 2 or 3 years. So I just think 4 to 5 years is way too much to be sitting somebody like that. It's that's where you sit, like a 4th round or 5th round, running back or wide receiver or safety. You put them on the special teams or something, but for the most part they're sitting. You don't do that with a 1st round quarterback. A year or two. 2's kind of pushing it, but definitely a year I could see. Eileen. Hello, Eileen. Thank you for checking the show out, Eileen. Thank you for commenting. How'd your Jets do? Let me know your thoughts. Eileen says, what if the Raiders trade for Penix? And that was something else that I said also on the show last night. I said, maybe they're going to use them as trade bait. Maybe they kind of dangle it out there and see if they can get a 1 for next year. And the only problem with that is now they just kind of wasted a 1 this year, right? They wasted their 1 this year on a trade to. I mean, now I guess I don't know. I don't know. Now, if you get a team that goes out there and offers you a couple years of 1s, it might be worth it. If the Raiders or anybody that needs a quarterback comes back and says, "Hey, we'll give you 2025 1st round pick, 2026 1st round pick, and 2027 2nd round pick or something." You know, that might be worth it. That might be worth losing this year's first round pick just to trade that quarterback for more of a future, uh, building the future more is what I'm trying to say, I guess. So maybe something like that, but I just have a hard time, seeing that, just understanding why they'd waste their first round pick this year, especially with so many different needs that they had, and just to build, try to build more draft capital for future years, not knowing exactly what they would get for him. If they were guaranteed, like, hey, you pick Penix here, we'll make a trade, and this is what I'm going to give you. All right, now it's a guarantee. This is what I'm going to get. Make that trade and go from there. But they don't know for certain, at least I would assume they don't know for certain, that if they were going to trade Penix for future draft capital, that they would even get the draft capital that they're looking for. I would assume they definitely have to get one first round pick, at least one. It's interesting. It really is interesting. It threw a huge wrench into the whole draft. You think, again, like, we don't know for sure what the war rooms, these coaches and GMs, sometimes they overthink it, and they just muck it up. And that's one of the things where I think the Raiders did well this year, and this is something that Tom Telesco does. He did as an experienced GM in past drafts, is not so much picking for team need in the first round, but picking best player available. And if that best player available happens to fit a team need, then so be it. But if it doesn't, that's still the best player available. You just made your team that much better at that position, not only for next year, but for future years as well. He did tell a story, Telesco did, about drafting Keenan Allen. I don't remember the exact, the other wide receivers' names or whatever, but wide receiver was not a position of need when he was drafting that year, whatever year it was. I don't remember. But it came up to the Chargers' turn, and they picked what they thought was the best player available, and at that point was Keenan Allen. So they draft Keenan Allen, and it's an overfilled wide receiver room. He said, that the thought was that Keenan Allen would just kind of be like a fifth receiver, to start that season, and maybe the next season work his way up towards being a top type wide receiver. Well, it turns out that they had a couple injuries in the wide receiver room. Boom, he moves up and has a really good career in San Diego and Los Angeles. So the last season or two he's been banged up a bit, but you kind of see. There's a little bit of luck involved with that one, in my opinion, but you kind of see where they're going with that. So I wasn't overly upset with the Raiders pick, taking the best player on their board available. And for a lot of different mocks that I've seen, Brock Bowers was a top 10 pick. So Adam says Hurts and JP. I don't know. Hurts and live today got Hurts. Huh. Oh, here we go. Maybe this one clears it up. Hurts and Love sat for a year. Okay, there. That clears up a little bit, Adam. Take your time when you're typing, or if you're speaking to your phone. Take your time. Speak slowly. Speak clearly, and the phone will help you. Hurts and Love sat for a year. Love sat for. Did he say for more than a year? I think he might have sat 2 years. I could be wrong. But Jalen Hurts sat for a year. And I to be honest with you, I don't remember Hurts sitting for a year. But now that you say it, it kind of like, oh yeah, he did sit for a year. And now he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. So, all right. So continuing with the draft, you had Penix at 8 with Atlanta. Chicago picked Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington, to go with their quarterback. Number 10, Minnesota. They flipped with the Jets there, 10 and 11. I'll talk about the trades coming up here in a minute. Minnesota took J.J. McCarthy, quarterback, Michigan. Minnesota really needed a quarterback, and that's one of the places where I thought you could see Penix going was to Minnesota. And we all thought yesterday that there was going to be some sort of trade in this area, to get up and try to get ahead of each other to get that quarterback. But not knowing that Penix, we assumed that McCarthy would have been gone already, and assumed that Penix was still going to be there. So we all thought that there was a potential that Penix could go to Minnesota, Denver, the Raiders, and didn't happen that way. But J.J. McCarthy did drop back a little bit further than what most people have thought, and he goes number 10 to Minnesota. Then the Jets end up picking offensive tackle out of Penn State, Fashanu. Denver takes Bo Nix, and I'm not overly surprised by that. I haven't heard a lot about Bo Nix, and that's something that I did talk about yesterday again. I haven't been hearing a whole lot about him recently. There's talk about him, dropping maybe to the second round, but that was it. And but I also heard, about a month or so ago that Sean Payton really liked Bo Nix, reminded him a lot of Drew Brees, just in the stature and the way he carried himself and his thought process. So it's not overly surprising that Sean Payton took Bo Nix. So at 13, like we've been talking about, the Raiders took Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia. 14, the Saints took Talisi Fuaga. I like Fuaga. I like saying his name. I wish the Raiders would have taken Fuaga, but I am happy with Brock Bowers. That's an offensive tackle out of Oregon State. Indianapolis, the Colts took Latu, edge rusher out of UCLA. The Sea Chickens, they took Byron Murphy, defensive tackle out of Texas. The best defensive tackle in the draft. That's not a very deep position this year. Minnesota, they traded up with Jacksonville, I believe, to 17. They picked Dallas Turner, edge rusher out of Alabama. Cincinnati, they took Amarius Mims, offensive tackle out of Georgia. The Rams took Jared Verse, edge rusher out of Florida State. The Steelers took Troy Faltanu, offensive guard out of Washington. Miami took Chop Robinson, edge rusher out of Penn State. Can't wait to see the Frank the Tank videos on this one. I don't know if it's a good pick, bad pick, but that's why I'll gauge it off what Frank the Tank says from Barstool Sports. If he's going nuts, then he didn't like the pick. If he's not going nuts and he's talking calmly, he liked the pick. 22, Philadelphia took Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback Toledo. Jacksonville took Brian Thomas at 23, wide receiver from LSU. 24, Detroit took Terrion Arnold, cornerback from Alabama. Surprised to see those guys drop as far as they did. Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold. 25, the Packers took Jordan Morgan, offensive tackle, Arizona. Tampa Bay took Graham Barton, center from Duke. At 27, Arizona took Darius Robinson, edge rusher from Mizzou. At 28, the Chiefs took Xavier Worthy, wide receiver out of Texas. The Chiefs traded up into that spot. 29, Dallas, they traded back to 29. They took Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle from Oklahoma. 30, Baltimore took Nate Wiggins, cornerback from Clemson. 31, San Francisco took Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver, Florida. And at 32, Carolina, who traded up into the first round, as Buffalo traded out of the first round. Carolina took Xavier Leggett, wide receiver out of South Carolina. So looking at all these different trades, I'll go over the different trades from the first round here real quick. Vikings-Jets trade. The Vikings got the 10th pick and the 203rd pick. The Jets got the 11th pick, the 129th pick, and the 157th pick. Minnesota then traded with Jacksonville. Minnesota traded up. They got the 17th pick. Jacksonville got the 23rd pick, the 5th round pick for this year. And they also got a 2025 third and 4th round pick from the Vikings. The Lions and Dallas, they swapped. The Lions got the 24th pick and a 2025 7th rounder, whereas Dallas got pick 29 and pick 73. Carolina Buffalo, like I just mentioned, Carolina got 32 and 200, whereas Buffalo got 33 and 141. And the Chiefs in Buffalo moved back twice to acquire more draft capital. The Chiefs got 28, 133, and 248, whereas Buffalo, they got 32, 95, and 221. And like I just said, Buffalo traded out of the first round. There we go. All right. 1 second here. Need a sip of iced tea for the working man. Mouth is getting dry. We're sitting at 48 live viewers right now. If you're watching this, go ahead, throw your comments out there. If you're on X, I know I've tried this a bunch of times. I can't get it to work, but I've seen it work. You double tap the video, and you should be able to comment on the live feed. Then I couldn't get it to work, but I don't know. I've seen it. I've had it. X comments come up here, Twitter comments, whatever you want to call it. I'm a moron. So, all right. So this is based off what I think the Raiders' needs are: quarterback, offensive tackle, cornerback. I even added running back. So the best available going into today. Today's the second and third rounds. Later on today, best quarterbacks available. There's Spencer Rattler, Michael Pratt from Tulane, Kadon Slovis from BYU, Jordan Travis from Florida State, who's kind of a little bit of a dark horse here. He had a pretty gruesome injury last year at Florida State, kind of derailed their national championship run, their playoff run. They were hoping to be in the college football playoffs, and one undefeated. But when he got hurt, I don't know what week it was, their offense was gone. They had no offense to speak of. Their defense was excellent, but their offense was gone, and they didn't get into the college football playoffs. And then they got throttled. I think was it by Georgia maybe, but it wasn't pretty. So keep an eye on him. Somebody's gonna take a late round flyer on him and let him sit for a couple of years and see what he can become, because I feel like he was having a pretty good season before he got hurt. Joe Milton III from Tennessee. So that's the top 5 quarterbacks left in the draft according to the ESPN. Offensive tackle wise, Blake Fisher from Notre Dame, Roger Rosengarter from Washington, Kingsley Suamatia. I think I did that pretty good, from BYU. Matt Goncalves, that's one's hard to say too. Goncalves from Pitt, and Christian James from Texas. Those are the top 5 tackles that are left. Cornerback, for cornerbacks, Cooper DeJean, or DeJean. That's how a normal person says it, from Iowa. One of my favorite names, Kool-Aid McKinstry. I mean, how do you get a nickname like Kool-Aid, right? That's awesome. I mean, me being a chubbier person, I know how I would get the nickname Kool-Aid. Breaking stuff and going, oh yeah, being kind of portly and all. But anyway, Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama, cornerback, still available. Ennis Rakestraw from Mizzou, who I had going to the Raiders in one of my mock drafts. Kamari Lassiter from Georgia, and TJ Tampa from Iowa State. I think I also had him going in one of my mock drafts to the Raiders. So that's the best of it. Top 5 best available cornerbacks left. And now looking at running backs, another need for the Raiders, but not until the later rounds. Top 5 running backs left. You're looking at Jonathan Brooks from Texas, Trey Benson from Florida State, Blake Corum from Michigan, Marshawn Lloyd, running back from USC, and Jalen Wright from the old Tennessee. Overall, the top players left, the top 6, Cooper DeJean, Derzon Newton, defensive tackle from Illinois, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver from Texas, Ladd McConkey, wide receiver from Georgia, and Ennis Rakestraw, the cornerback out of Iowa. So those are the top ones left, according to ESPN. I wasn't going to do the whole list, those top 5, top 6. But like I said, for the Raiders' needs, quarterback, offensive tackle, cornerback, there are still some really good players to look at. Second round, third round, maybe the Raiders try to trade up a little bit in the second round. And again, from everything I've heard, that's not really in Tom Telesco's MO. He doesn't like selling off the future to move up in the drafts. He usually stays put. So we'll see what happens there. I think the Raiders have picked 44. We got Adam. Son of a bitch, Adam. I don't know how you're doing it. I can't do it. He says, I'm on X. I see that. and it's frustrating for me. I get really angry with it. Hey, Sully, what's up, Sully? You can check our boy Joel Sullivan out Mondays, I believe 6 or 6:30 on the Sully Squad, and also Tuesdays on the every other Tuesday Extra Innings podcast talking Major League Baseball. The Sully Squad, they talk Philly sports, so you get everything there. You got the Eagles, Phillies, some Flyers, Sixers, all that good stuff. So be sure to check them out. Those guys are a lot of fun. Joe says, "Hey Ken, I absolutely love Bowers. I like Bowers too. Like I said, I wasn't a position of need, but was the best player available. So I dig it. I understand it. I'm not sure the fit with Mayer, but he must have been best player available on their board. And that's what Telesco did say. Tom Telesco had a press conference last night, and that's what he said. He said, on our board, that's who we had as our best player available. And so there it was. I mean, a couple different mock drafts I've seen. He was top 10, and had a great career at Georgia. I like the two tight end sets. I like it. Mayer, a great receiving tight end, and he's a big physical guy. And you look at Brock Bowers, basically he's a wide receiver at tight end. You think, like I said before, the lad out of San Francisco who I talked about 50 times already on the show, and I can't think of his name now. You know who I'm talking about anyway. The San Francisco tight end. I can't believe I talked about him so many times on this show early on, and now I can't remember his stupid ass name. But anyway, it doesn't matter. They're comparing those two guys, and it's pissing me off. I can't remember his name. It's driving me nuts. So I like it. Offense really struggled last season. One reason or another. You look at Aiden O'Connell. He did get better as the season ended. He actually was pretty good the last few weeks of the season. They bring in Gardner Minshew. Those two guys are going to compete for a starting job. I can still pick up another quarterback. We definitely need another quarterback, whether that's through the draft or through free agency, just to add depth. But I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, we need to have depth at the quarterback position. But our offense was just so stagnant last season that any kind of weapon that you can add to it is going to be a plus. And now offensive tackle is a big glaring need. But like I said earlier, Joe, I feel like offensive tackle is so deep in this draft that you can definitely get a starter, a day one starter in the second or third round yet. So I'm not too worried about the offensive tackle part of it. The cornerback part, like I was saying earlier, losing Amik Robertson to Detroit, that hurt because that leaves an opening there at cornerback. We have Jack Jones, who played well. Nate Hobbs, really came into his own last season, especially when Jack Jones came about. Those two guys kind of played off of each other. We also drafted Jacorian Bennett last season. One of the later rounds. I'm not sure which round it was. I can't remember. But George Kittle was the name of the San Francisco tight end. There it is, baby. I knew it was going to pop in there. But Jacorian Bennett, we drafted last season, didn't play well when he got in, but there was flashes of promise. So he kind of play off of that. So I do think cornerback is probably the top need for me right now. Cornerback, then offensive tackle, quarterback, and maybe running back like your fourth or fifth round. He says, I'm reading the Raiders may like Spencer Rattler. Yeah, no, I've seen that a bunch of different times. And I'd be all right with that. If you go ahead and you take Spencer Rattler in the third round, I'm cool with that. I have no problem with that at all. Third or fourth round, whatever. And like I was saying before about Jordan Travis from Florida State, if he's sitting there in the sixth round, why not, right? Why not take a flyer on the guy? It's a sixth round pick. Let him sit for a little bit and see how he plays, see how he comes off that injury from last season. But I don't think that's a bad idea at all. But I would be fine if they took Spencer Rattler. Kind of had a rough start there in Oklahoma, but finished up pretty nicely the last two seasons there in South Carolina on a team that, from what I can remember, not all that great. They they weren't a terrible team, South Carolina, but I think they played around 500 ball. I could be wrong. Maybe they're like 6-6 or like a 7-5 maybe. They weren't 10-2. Pushing for a New Year's Day bowl. I don't think. So they do like Spencer Rattler, and I know Cowboy Dave brought this up on Dem 215 Boys, which is on Wednesdays at 9:30 p.m. Out of the Box Sports Entertainment, Facebook, YouTube, X. But anyway, he brought up the Dak Prescott question. I heard the Raiders were interested in Dak Prescott, and I only ever seen it on one Twitter page. I want to say X page, but it doesn't sound right to me. So Twitter page. I seen it on one Twitter page from a Raider. I don't know if it was a Raider content creator, if it was just a Raider fan. I don't remember exactly, but it was a hypothetical. It wasn't, I'm hearing out of Dallas or I'm hearing out of Las Vegas, the Raiders are interested in Dak Prescott, and the Raiders and Cowboys are talking. I seen it once, and that was it. I didn't see it again. And like I said to Dave, I said, one report from a guy that doesn't have any inside information, just putting out a hypothetical, doesn't make it the Raiders interested in a player. That just, Dak would cost a lot of money. The Raiders do have a lot of cap room this year and next year. Next year, I think it's going to be even more. But they also have some pretty big guys that they need to shore up, much like Max Crosby. They need to pay the man. So, but yeah, I don't see the whole Dak Prescott thing. I think it's more likely we see Spencer Rattler in the silver and black than we would Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's going to be he's going to have that Cowboy star on the side of his helmet for the next 8 years, and that'll make all the Cowboy fans real happy. Our boy Adam Glenn says, ask Emma how to comment on X. He means Emmy, my daughter. She doesn't go on X. She does have an account on X, but it's for softball recruiting, but she never goes on it and checks it. She doesn't know how to do it. Adam, I'm telling you, last night, I don't know, before I went on to the NFL Draft Live show, I sat here for like 5 minutes, beating the shit out of my phone, trying to double tap and get on there to comment, and I couldn't do it. And I don't know. I have no idea. And it frustrates the hell out of me. I'm not Mr. Tech savvy by any stretch of the imagination, but somebody says you double tap it, it works. I'm just double tapping, to my heart. My heart was beating rapidly. I was double tapping that much. I was having palpitations, if that makes any sense. All right, so that's what we're looking like right now. If I go ahead and look back real quick at my mocks that I had from last week, bear with me for a second here while I scroll back through my notes. This is why I keep notes so I can refer back and, oh yeah, I did say that, didn't I? Kind of thing. All right, so my mock drafts, I had Penix. For round 2, I had Tyler Guyton. He's already gone. And round 3, I had Nehemiah Pritchett, a 6-foot, 188-pound cornerback out of Auburn. That was one of my mock drafts. Another mock draft, I had them taking I don't see it there. Oh, there it is. No, whatever. I'll go to another one. Another one, I had them taking Bo Nix in the second round, and then the third round, I had them trading their third round and fourth round pick to move up for Bo Nix, but he's gone as well. I had now another one, I had them taking Enos Rakestraw, cornerback out of Mizzou in the second round. In the third round, I had them taking Spencer Rattler. So that can still happen. So that part of my draft is still alive on that mock draft. And so I also took one of the experts mock drafts, the Athletic. So I took their mock draft as well, and I wrote it down. I read it on the show last week, and I'd like to compare that. So the Athletic had the Raiders taking Terrion Arnold at 1, and then trading back into the first round for Michael Penix at the 29th pick. They traded their second and third round picks to the Lions, according to the Athletic, to jump back into the first round to get Michael Penix. Obviously, that did not happen. So, but yeah, I had Michael Penix, a couple different times in my mock drafts, and it's a no-go. I had J.C. Latham in the first round as well, and I also had Terrion Arnold in the first round. So, and that's why they're mock drafts, right? They're not always right. So I think that's all I have for today, actually. I'm going to bug out of here real quick. And I got a lot of running around to do before I go to bed. So Adam says she will know. She will not know. She's not going to know. She won't know. I'm telling you, Adam. I'll let you know, but I'm going to ask her. She's not going to know how to do it. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple sponsor reads here real quick before I get out of here. Looking at our boy here, Jason Fine, J. Fine Law, attorney Big Al. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has, I wonder if hurt feelings are covered under that. Kirk Cousins, he had some hurt feelings. I don't know if he would call Jason Fine if he would take that case or not. Or if you'd have to call our boy Paul Spencer, and Paul would have to make that determination if hurt feelings falls underneath personal injury. I don't know, because Kirk Cousins is a little bit butthurt right now about the whole Penix pick. They have 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and in the Garden State of New Jersey. The offices are located in Cherry Hill on 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. And in the Steel City of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the home of the Pittsburgher. The offices are located at 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the offices are located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. The phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. Head on over to monkeycoldcoffee.com for all your gourmet coffee needs. They have bourbon, chocolate, chip infused coffee, toasted coconut rum. They have a Sumatran blend, medium roast coffee. They have an organic blend called Perula, Florida. They also, their newest flavor is golden honey agave. And in relation to that, they're also selling barrel-aged honey at monkeycoldcoffee.com. So be sure to get all your honey needs there at monkeycoldcoffee.com. But also check out their swag shop. They got some sweet-ass shirts there, coffee mugs, tumbler cups, cold brew pitchers, K-cup adapters, and don't forget that sweet, sweet Paradise rum cake. I've actually bought most of the stuff on in their swag shop. I bought a T-shirt for my dad for Christmas because they don't have larger sizes. They only go up to double X. I'm a bigger fella. I am losing weight. I'm working on it, people. I'm working on it. I'm trying. So the T-shirts are really nice. The mug, I do have the coffee mug. I love the coffee mug. I love the black and red. I love the logo and everything. I have the tumbler cup, keeps your hot liquids hot for at least 8 hours. I've had it at work, and I'm not allowed to have coffee on the floor at where I work, so it stays in the break room. So I'm not able to drink it all at one sitting. So I'm constantly going back and forth, and the coffee is hot every time I go back to it hours later. And of course, the cold brew pitcher, super easy to use. If you like iced coffee, cold brew coffee, be sure to check that out. Like I said, it's super easy to use, super easy to make the coffee through that. And it tastes fantastic. Every flavor I've tried is awesome. I've tried the bourbon chocolate chip. My favorite is the toasted coconut rum. The medium roast Sumatran blend is very good, as well as the golden honey agave. I have not tried the Perula, Florida yet. but I will get there. All that at monkeycoldcoffee.com. And be sure to use that promo code OOTB Sports for 10% off your order. That promo code, once again, is OOTB Sports for 10% off your order. All right. So that's all I have for today here on the Silver and Black Lair Raiders edition. Be sure to check me out tomorrow night, 10 p.m. on the Atomic Drop podcast right here, Out of the Box Sports Entertainment, Facebook, YouTube, X. Like, follow, subscribe. Please subscribe and follow, especially on X and YouTube. And we'll be talking WWE Wrestling. We'll be talking Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, as well as the WWE Draft, which starts tonight and continues to Monday. So after that, I will be live next Wednesday, 10 a.m. with the Batcave, talking New York Mets baseball. Be sure to check that out. A lot of fun. And next Thursday, Silver and Black Lair LA Kings edition. Next Thursday, 10 a.m. Talking LA Kings hockey. And then, of course, back again next Friday, recapping the whole draft with the Silver and Black Lair Las Vegas Raiders edition at 10 a.m. There's a chance I might hop on, at some crazy hour to do a live if I can't sleep and talk about the Raiders draft before that. But I still will do next Friday again and recap the whole draft and give you my thoughts and opinions and hopefully hear from you guys as well. All right, so that's all I have for today. Thank you everybody for checking the show out. We're sitting at 52 live viewers right now. Thank you for commenting. I appreciate it very much. Like I said, I read every comment as long as it's not, anything that's going to get me canceled. You're not going to cancel me. What am I saying? But anyway, as long as it's not, derogatory towards a certain group of people or racist or political, I'll read everything else. I don't care what it is. I'll talk about anything. So I'm an open book. All right. So I'll see you guys later. Be sure to check it out tomorrow night, the Atomic Drop podcast. And for you Raider fans, I'll see you next Friday, 10 a.m. Just win, baby. See you later.